So I was getting a cup of tea in the bar, but of course I asked to watch Wimbledon on the TV, and they told me that they couldn't find it. But of course they only did kind of a superficial search for the channels, so I think they might have been telling kind of a white lie. So of course if they were communist or if they were ethical, they probably would have found it immediately. So, but here I am. I'm sitting in the lobby, and you can see it's a very uh, high class type of lobby, and it's perfectly free for me to sit down here. I don't have to pay anything to sit down here, so long as I got something in the restaurant. But this is actually kind of the room itself is kind of a reflection of immorality in capitalism, given that the room likely costs it likely costs about a million euros or maybe half a million to make this room. It's in the center of the town. So I suppose even if we live in a really pure form of socialism, where everyone in society had to be taxed, and the profit of every business was taxed in the interest of wealth redistribution, um, there'd still be a dilemma of corporate wealth, because corporate wealth doesn't mean it means the hard assets of the companies, doesn't mean the profit. So if the dilemma is that no matter how extreme socialism is, it's not capable of megalomania or evil against rich people, precisely because corporate wealth is protected under socialism or under most forms of socialism, and price controls aren't very enforced in socialism either. Socialism is more in the game of um, high taxes on income or corporate profit, but that's about the most of it. By contrast, under communism actually literally controls the business, and theoretically it's way more ethical under communism, simply because under communism the entire industry mightn't be irrelevant. If you have a fashion industry, it's actually not a priority. If people are very poor or undernourished or sheltered or not homeless perhaps, they the corporations shouldn't even have wealth to create the industry. There's no need to have a makeup line or a clothes shop. It's not very relevant. Yet, I suppose the reason I'm not a communist, I suppose, is because, first of all, Cold War went on for decades, and so the communist regimes, they never actually revamped ever. So you might think that it was a foregone conclusion after 5 years of a communist regime that it wasn't going to succeed. Yet it went on for decades. They didn't try to change the structure after 5 years or after 10 years, which is a clue that they weren't trying to be ethical at all. Likewise, the management of the communist regimes, the evil people like Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao, they weren't actually invincible. They might have been disarmed the civilians, but the soldiers were capable of launching a mutiny. After all, they all had guns. The soldiers all had guns. They had snipers. All of them had snipers. So the fact that their leaders were let live implies that none of the soldiers were interested in ethics at all. So, so I suppose that's the reason that I don't subscribe to communism, but I subscribe to socialism because I think it's not very ethical, but it's relatively ethical. It's kind of slightly ethical, and that's why capitalism, for me, is too immoral, because I think the society I'm in is trustworthy, and as such, I don't think there's a risk of huge ethnic persecution, and that's why I think socialism in Ireland is a strong contender. Thank you.